Bonjour tout le monde. Aujourd'hui, nous travaillons avec l'accord du participe du passé. So, we're continuing with what we started on with the last lesson. So, in the last lesson, you learned about direct object pronouns. And today, we're going to rehash a lot of what you learned yesterday. And then we're going to talk about something particular that happens with past participles when you have preceding direct objects. But let's get started by reviewing direct objects themselves. So, what is a direct object? A direct object takes the action of the verb, and there's no preposition between the verb and the direct object. Let's look at some examples. J'ai lu un livre. I read a book. So, un livre comes right after the verb. J'ai lu un livre. J'ai écrit un mail. I wrote an email. Un mail comes right after the verb. J'ai écrit. So it's j'ai écrit un mail. Un mail is the direct object. J'ai mis la lettre dans la boîte. So, la lettre comes right after the verb, j'ai mis. So, la lettre is the direct object. What did I put in the box? I put a letter in the box. J'ai mis la lettre dans la boîte. So, those are some examples of direct objects in action. So, yesterday we learned about direct object pronouns, and these are used to replace a direct object. So there's me, m apostrophe, te, t apostrophe. There's also se, s apostrophe, but we don't need to worry about that. You can worry about that in level 3 if you take that. Le, la, elle apostrophe, him, her, or it. Nous, for us, vous for y'all or you formal, and les for them. So these are pronouns that we can use to replace direct objects in a sentence. Let's take a look at some examples. Look at this sentence. Nous étudions le français. The direct object is le français. It comes right after nous étudions. And so if we wanted to just say we study it instead of we study French, you would replace le français with the pronoun le. And you would put the le before the verb. So it would be nous à l'apostrophe étudions. Nous l'étudions. So, L apostrophe here is replacing le français. So instead of saying we study French, it's saying we study it. Nous l'étudions. Let's look at another example. Luc a les billets. Les billets comes right after a. So, les billets is the direct object. Luc has the tickets. So, if we wanted to say Luc has them instead of Luc has the tickets, we would replace les billets with the pronoun les. And we would put les before the verb. So, it'd be Luc les a. So, les is replacing les billets. Luc les a. Luc has them. Another example, Cécile porte sa jupe. So, sa jupe is the direct object. It comes right after the verb porter. Cécile porte sa jupe. She's wearing her skirt. So if we wanted to replace sa jupe, her skirt, with just it. She's wearing it. It would be, which pronoun would we use to replace sa jupe? If you guessed la, you were correct. Cécile la porte. Je cherche mes clés. So mes clés would be my keys. I'm looking for my keys. And you notice in French with chercher, the verb to look for, there's no preposition here. So mes clés is a direct object. So it would be, so mes clés would become les, and it would be je les cherche. I'm looking for them. So now we've seen them in action, let's look at some other circumstances that make things interesting. In the passé composé, where are you going to put your direct object pronoun? Are you going to put it in front of the helping verb or the past participle? You're going to put it in front of the helping verb. So, Damien a appris le français quand il était petit. So we know we're going to replace le français with le or l'apostrophe since we have a vowel here. And we're going to put it in front of a. So it's going to be Damien l'a appris quand il était petit. Papa a déjà lu le journal. Dad has already read the newspaper. So le journal is our direct object. We're going to replace it with the pronoun le, and we're going to put it in front of our helping verb a. And once again, it's going to become l'apostrophe. Papa a déjà lu le journal. Papa l'a déjà lu. Vous avez trouvé votre chien. Votre chien is going to be le once again. And it's going to go in front of the helping verb. So it's going to be vous l'avez trouvé. So you notice I only chose masculine singular direct objects for this slide. And that's because things get a little weird in the passé composé when the direct object comes before the verb. And we're going to come back to that later in the slideshow. Few other things to talk about. Négation. So when you figure out which verb your past participle goes with, nothing can ever come between them. They're together forever. So the ne and the pas go around the direct object and the verb. So le chinois, je ne le parle pas. I don't speak it. So ne, and then you have your pronoun, le, and then you have your verb, parle, and then you have pas. Je ne le parle pas. And let's look at another example. Elle ne l'a pas pris à 14 heures. She didn't take it at 2 o'clock. So once again, you're putting le with the conjugated verb. So it's going to be la. And you're going to put the ne and the pas around the object pronoun and the conjugated verb. Elle ne l'a pas pris à 14 heures. Donc voilà les négations. Parlons maintenant des infinitifs. Marcel va nous écouter. So you notice here there's an infinitive, and so our pronoun doesn't come before the conjugated verb. It goes before the infinitive. So the rule is your pronoun goes before the conjugated verb unless there's an infinitive. So Marcel va nous écouter. Il va nous écouter. Tu ne préfères pas la porter demain? So here, porter is the infinitive. So la, our direct object pronoun meaning it in this context, goes with porter. Tu ne préfères pas la porter demain? Wouldn't you rather wear it tomorrow? Voilà, les négations et les infinitifs. Continuons. Faisons une petite activité et voilà un passage écrit par mon chien. Voilà mon chien. Elle s'appelle Roxy. Elle est très gentille, mais elle n'est pas trop intelligente. Et elle a écrit ce passage et il y a beaucoup de répétitions. Écoutons. Bonjour, je m'appelle Roxy. Je suis le chien de Mary Greenwood. J'aime Mary Greenwood beaucoup. Ok, bon, j'aime tout le monde, mais ce n'est pas l'essentiel ici. Chaque jour, Mary fait des promenades avec moi. J'adore les promenades. Hier, nous avons vu un écureuil. J'ai chassé l'écureuil, mais je n'ai pas pu attraper l'écureuil. Puis, les amis de Mary sont venus chez nous. J'adore les amis de Mary. Son amie Anna m'a donné des biscuits. J'ai adoré les biscuits. Youpi! So go ahead and pause the video for just a second and see if you can find any repeated words or phrases, mostly words, that could be replaced with a direct object pronoun. So any repeated words that you could replace with a direct object pronoun in the passage. Just take a minute and identify them. All right. So I'm assuming you paused it and now you've unpaused it. So let's look at what's being repeated. So, je suis le chien de Mary Greenwood. J'aime Mary Greenwood. Répétition. Chaque jour, Mary fait des promenades avec moi. J'adore les promenades. So we can replace les promenades. Hier, nous avons vu un écureuil. J'ai chassé l'écureuil, mais je n'ai pas pu attraper l'écureuil. So, écureuil gets repeated twice after the initial occurrence of the word. Puis, les amis de Mary sont venus chez nous. J'adore les amis de Mary. So we can replace les amis de Mary with a pronoun. Son amie Anna m'a donné des biscuits. J'ai adoré les biscuits. So les biscuits we can replace with a pronoun. So start with Mary Greenwood. What pronoun would you use to replace Mary Greenwood? You would use la, right? But it's going to come before the verb aimer. So it's going to look like l'apostrophe. So it's going to be je l'aime beaucoup. L'apostrophe aime. Je l'aime beaucoup. Ok, bon, j'aime tout le monde, mais ce n'est pas l'essentiel ici. Chaque jour, Mary fait des promenades avec moi. J'adore les promenades. So, we're going to replace les promenades with a pronoun. Which pronoun are we going to use? We're going to use les. That's right. So, it's going to be je les adore. Hier, nous avons vu un écureuil. J'ai chassé l'écureuil, mais je n'ai pas pu attraper l'écureuil. So let's start with this first one. J'ai chassé l'écureuil. We're going to replace l'écureuil with le. And it's going to go before the conjugated verb, right? J'ai chassé. So it's going to look like je l'ai chassé. L apostrophe. Je l'ai chassé. Mais je n'ai pas pu attraper l'écureuil. So once again, l'écureuil is going to be le. But here, this is tricky. Je n'ai pas pu attraper. So we have this past tense verb, but we also have the verb attraper, which is an infinitive. So because we have an infinitive, we're going to put écureuil or le with attraper. And once again, it's going to be L apostrophe. Je n'ai pas pu l'attraper. Puis, les amis de Mary sont venus chez nous. J'adore les amis de Mary. So, les amis de Mary. Which pronoun are we going to use? We're going to use les. So it's going to be je les adore. Son amie Anna m'a donné des biscuits. J'ai adoré les biscuits. So les biscuits, we're going to replace with the pronoun les. And we're going to put it in front of the conjugated verb est. Je les ai adorés. Youpi! Now, let's look at this last complete sentence. Je les ai adorés. And you notice we added an S to the past participle adoré. And the reason we had to add an S is because the direct object is now in front of the verb. And so when the direct object is in front of the verb, you have to make the past participle agree with it. Je les ai adorés avec S. Youpi! So let's talk a little bit more about this past participle agreement. So let's look at an example of where the direct object comes after the verb. J'ai mis la valise dans la voiture ce matin. I put the suitcase in the car this morning. So because la valise comes after the verb, we don't need to change this past participle mis. It can just be its normal self. Here, if you replace la valise with a direct object pronoun, it would be la, but we're going to turn it to L apostrophe because there's a vowel there. It would be je l'ai mise dans la voiture ce matin. So here you have a feminine direct object, and it's in front of the verb, so the past participle has to agree with it. Don't ask me why on this. Just go with it. It's how the French do things, so we're just going to respect it and we're going to go with it. I don't understand it either, but it's how they do things. Okay, let's look at another example. J'ai attendu les filles à la gare. Les filles is plural and feminine, so we're going to replace it with les. Je les ai attendues à la gare. And so because we have a feminine and plural direct object in front of the verb, we're going to add an E and an S. Je les ai attendues à la gare. Let's look at some more examples and see if we can get a hang on this. So, le chien a mangé mes devoirs. The dog ate my homework. Mes devoirs is plural. So, we're going to replace it with the pronoun les. And our new sentence will be le chien les a mangés. The dog ate them. So, les is now in front of the verb. So the past participle is going to have an S afterwards. to make it agree with les. Hope a trouvé la réponse. So, la réponse is our direct object. We're going to replace it with the direct object pronoun la. And here it's going to just look like l'apostrophe because it's in front of the verb a. Hope l'a trouvé, but because la réponse is feminine, and now it's in front of the verb, we're going to have to make the past participle agree. So we add an E at the end to make it agree with la réponse. Hope l'a trouvé. Finalement, Madame Greenwood a corrigé les examens. So, Madame Greenwood a corrigé les examens. Les examens is our direct object. And so, what are we going to have to do when we've replaced les examens with the pronoun les? What are we going to have to do to corriger, to make it agree? We're going to have to add an S. Madame Greenwood les a corrigés. And one more thing you have to worry about is when sometimes you just have a direct object before the verb, even though it's not a direct object pronoun. So, for example, quelles émissions avez-vous regardé? Which shows did you watch? So, shows, émission, comes before the verb vous avez regardé. Quelles émissions avez-vous regardé? So we're going to make the past participle agree with émission, and we're going to add an E and an S because it's plural and feminine. Quelles émissions avez-vous regardé? Numéro de téléphone, c'est masculin et singulier. So you're going to replace it with the pronoun le, and you're going to answer in the je form. So, je l'ai donné à Madame Mio, or je ne l'ai pas donné à Madame Mio. So, with this one, this is also masculine and singular, so you don't have to worry about whether to make past participle agree or not, because it's masculine and singular, and that's sort of the default setting in French. Let's look at some of the others. Est-ce que vous avez mis le nouveau nom de la firme sur les enveloppes? Again, le nouveau nom de la firme, c'est masculin et singulier. Avez-vous contacté la responsable de notre comité de direction? So, what pronoun would we use with la responsable? So you would replace this entire phrase or this entire entity, la responsable de notre comité de direction. You would replace that whole chunk of words with just the pronoun la. And this one, you're going to have to worry about your past participle agreement. Which other questions are going to involve past participle agreement? Take a look. So number 5, Georges Dupic et Catherine Durier. That is going to be les, and it's going to be masculine and plural. Number 6, Anne et Clémentine. That's going to be les. And it's feminine and plural. So you'll have to adjust the past participle accordingly. And m'avez-vous comprise pendant la réunion hier? So complete this activity, follow the format in the model, and pay attention to which pronoun you're using, where you put the pronoun, and does the pronoun change the past participle? Do you have to make the past participle agree with the direct object pronoun? Voilà. Bon travail aujourd'hui et à la prochaine. Pardon.